obviously, when we talk combat sports, whenever I watch a UFC fight, I always look for this guy because I know whenever it's in Las Vegas, he's gonna be there. Adam Hill, obviously from the Las Vegas Review Journal, former co-worker of Gilbert. UFC 279. He is here to preview it. Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. I hope I got that right, and I think I
You did
butchered
it.
because Gilbert.
You did not.
I did not. Okay, hey, there you go. A point for Fernando on that one. But Adam, thank you so much for joining us on Combat Compas. How have you been? And can you tell us where your seat's going to be so that we can find you?
It's always right there in the middle of the media section. I've actually had the same seat for a long time. It's a running thing. I am B1, always B1 in the media section. It's what I asked for about 8 years ago, and I got it. And it was kind of like, it's kind of set in stone. Like that's where I sit. So you can always find me. I mean, you can't see the numbers from where you're watching on TV, but always the end of the media row, the second row behind the cage. That's what I wanted because you can go in and out. I go back to the back a lot and interview fighters between fights, and I like to go in and out, run back and forth. So right on the edge, B1. That's where I always am, and I'm good. It's going to be a wild week. We can get into my plans for coverage. Somehow I'm going to be in both Vegas and LA within like 8 hours of each other to cover events, but yeah.
By the way, Adam Hill is a monster when it comes to all this stuff. You'll catch him in Cincinnati, and then the next night you're like, wait, he's at the UFC fight? Like, what is this? Adam is honestly the pinnacle of what Gilbert and I aspire to be when it comes to journalism because he's all over the place. He's at every event. He's covering everything in Vegas that known to man, literally.
Well, you guys were right. You were right there. Sorry to cut you off, Gilbert. You were right there at the combine. I mean, we'd be out until 4 a.m. every day, and then back at the grind at 7 a.m. Like you guys were on it. So you got to taste my schedule. Although at the end of that week,
that was only a week.
But if you remember the end of that week, I mean, we were exhausted. I'll speak for you guys. I was exhausted at the end of the combine week. Now we may have gone a little too hard at night, and that's how it might have worked. I don't know, but I was so tired. But there was a UFC fight the Saturday at the end of the combine back in Vegas, and there was no direct flights from Indy. So I got a car, drove to Louisville, flew nonstop to Vegas to get here to cover that fight. So, yeah, that was a wild week. This one's up there a little bit because obviously, I cover the Raiders, and UFC is here in Vegas. The Raiders are down in LA this week. I will cover the fight Saturday night, go to the press conference. I should get on the road by 1 a.m., be in LA by 4:30. 4:30, maybe 5 a.m. And cover the Raiders and Chargers because I don't want to fly Sunday morning and take the chance that there's a delay. I don't make it, and don't have the option of some folks that I know are going to both events are flying private. That's not really in the budget, so I will be driving overnight to get there, get a couple hours sleep in at the airport, and then drive on over to SoFi.
Well, I'll trust Dana for his plane.
Yeah, right.
I think Mark Davis more likely, but yeah, it's not going to happen either.
But Adam, the weird thing about you that I know about you, from being a coworker and then working on the NFL beat is that you're juggling all these events, and then I see you occasionally tired. But then even when you're tired, you still go do something. Like you have the option not to do it, and you're like, all right, I'm going to my hotel, and then you text me later, oh, I went somewhere else. I don't know why you do that, Adam. You're bringing it upon yourself. But I do respect that hustle.
Oh, for sure, FOMO. I think that's real. But also, like, I like to cover things. I like to be a part of them. Look, I will say this right now. My bosses said, do not cover UFC on Saturday. We'll get somebody else to cover it. But I'm excited for this fight. We can get into it, and maybe by the end of this, we can learn how to pronounce Khamzat Chimaev's name altogether. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this fight this week, and it should be a good time. And then obviously the Raiders opener, you can't really beat that down at SoFi, one of the greatest stadiums ever constructed.
Maybe I shouldn't do this, but now I feel like hopefully one of my bosses is watching me because I'm trying to cover Canelo Triple G in Las Vegas and cover the Rams Falcons the next week. So if Adam's doing, why can't I do it? But we'll see if he's watching.
Exactly.
Hey, by the way, I also catch him here and there. He's in Cabo, Cancun. Oh. Then I catch him. He's like, oh, he posted the other day that he was at Del Mar. I'm like, is that the Del Mar here? And I see him. I'm like, yo, what's up? And then he's like, we'll hang out next time. And I'm like, dang. I'm like, all right, cool. Because Adam's a busy guy.
Honestly, no, I was staying at the track. I literally staying on the track at the Hilton. And you were like, San Diego's a big place. You were like an hour away. I was there.
No, I know. No, San Diego is pretty big, but yes. I hope you enjoyed your time while you were out here.
Usually it's the other way
Okay.
around, Adam. Is like they come like you're in Las Vegas, so you get it all the time. Like, hey, I'm in your city, and you're like, okay, wait, so what do you want me to do about that? Go do your thing. I'm busy, So Fernando, don't be offended. But let's get
No,
to the.
I'm not. No, I just tell him. I'm like, I know he likes to celebrate. I know he likes that. So I'm like, hey, take me along with you. I'm down to celebrate too.
Work hard, play hard, bro. So it is.
Exactly.
And not to stir the pot a little more, but Fernando, you had a game preview episode on What's Up Bolts with Paul Gutierrez of ESPN, not Adam Hill. So I don't know, man. That's why you don't get invites because of that.
Wow.
Stop. Gilbert told me, hey, it might be too much for Adam if you have Adam on twice. I said, and I want to protect you. I want to make sure that you're healthy going into this weekend's big fight. Then you get to drive. You have to drive all the way to LA. I'm here protecting. I'm Team Adam Hill. I'm protecting you.
Yeah, and I know how it is. Discrimination. I get it. It's too good. I get it.
You are the minority right now, Adam. That is true. We're sorry, but also we could have traded because Paul is a black belt. He could talk MMA, so we messed that up. But Adam, let's get to the fight. Chimaev, did I say it right?
Yes, you got it.
There you go. See, Fernando, come on. I guess Nate Diaz.
Chimaev, I said it in the intro.
No, you didn't.
Chimaev, I think you said.
Yeah. See, now you're going to confuse me. But easy question before we get into the fight a little more. Why is this fight happening with Nate Diaz? I know Nate Diaz, was fighting Leon Edwards. Why not Conor McGregor and the trilogy?
I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I don't know why this fight was booked. I don't know why it's a thing. I don't know why Nate Diaz accepted it. I don't know any of those things. Now, I'll kind of get into it. So the backstory in this is Khamzat Chimaev is potentially like the biggest breakout star the UFC has had in a long, long time. This dude is a beast. And like when I say that he is winning fights in dominating fashion, it's tough to even describe it. I'm trying to remember. I think I can look it up here now. Sorry to do this right in front of your in face on the camera here. But the strike differential in his first two wins in the UFC was something like 179-2. Like he landed 179 strikes and absorbed 2. It was nuts what he was doing to people and just destroying them. Now, he did have a really long layoff because he got COVID very bad and was not able to fight for a long time. It got into his lungs. It infected how he could breathe. He didn't think he was going to be able to get back in the cage. And in fact, he temporarily announced his retirement. He said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And he was only just getting going. So it was almost going to be one of those stories of this dominant fighter who never gets the chance to actually follow through on his potential. And then he was able to come back and get through a fight against a real contender in Gilbert Burns. And then now kind of show that he's ready to not only win these fights early because his first 4 fights in the UFC were all early stoppages. 1 was in the second round, and then 3 straight first-round stoppages, including a 17-second knockout of Gerald Meerschaert. So when he fights Gilbert Burns, off a long layoff, not really sure exactly where he's going to be health-wise and everything else, and he comes out and wins that fight in convincing fashion. It was a back and forth fight, more test than we've ever seen Chimaev have, but he was able to get through it, and I think that showed a lot that he isn't just a guy that can come out and knock people out and finish people within the first round, but he can also endure a back and forth kind of a battle. And so now Nate Diaz is kind of out there without an opponent. It's his last fight on a contract. He's going to free agency, and this is looked at as Chimaev is there to absolutely destroy Nate Diaz, become a huge star in the UFC, and send Nate Diaz packing. But the more I talk to people around Diaz and around the UFC, they're kind of going with the, yes, look, that is an easy narrative. Like this is basically, the goats being tossed into the T-Rex cage in Jurassic Park for Chimaev to just feast. And that's probably what's going to happen. But everybody expects that. So if Nate Diaz shows anything, if Nate Diaz somehow, good Lord, wins, like I can't imagine that happening. But what does that do for Nate Diaz going into free agency? All of a sudden, the UFC probably has to make him the #1 contender, probably has to give him either a title fight or a McGregor fight. And if he does go on the open market, gets him a massive payday. And all he has to do is be competitive. So there is some win in it for Nate Diaz if he even shows anything. But I think most people feel it's just going to be total and complete destruction.
Adam, it kind of reminds me of like in boxing where like you want to fight the known star, the established household name guy who's on the back end of his career. So you're bringing in the young guy to get the pay-per-view audience. So, I think maybe that's what they're trying with Chimaev, when, against Nate Diaz, a big
He
rock
butchered
star.
it.
He
No,
did.
he
It's
didn't.
Chimaev.
Yeah.
It's close.
See,
You said it the
messed me
same
up
way
for that,
Fernandez.
So
okay, well, at least you called me out every time I do it. Shemaev, there we
Oh,
go.
Chimaev. Yes.
But I did catch that fight against Gilbert Burns, my tocayo. That's a great name, by the way. And it almost felt like he was enjoying being hit. Like it was a
Yeah.
a good action brawl. Obviously, he won the fight, but Gilbert Burns finally made him, I guess, taste his own blood from a dodgeball there. Fernando, you like that one, but I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do you make him not, I guess, get to a point where he's having fun and enjoying the actual fight? What can Nate Diaz do to actually maybe expose a weakness if he has one, or what can he do to at least do what Gilbert Burns did and give him some punches and strike him?
I mean, it seemed like what Gilbert Burns was able to do certainly challenge him, but really just make him stretch out a little bit. Like, I think what we've seen is Chimaev just so destroy people. We haven't really seen his cardio tested and that sort of thing. But Gilbert Burns did that. So I think some of those questions were answered. So I don't think it's an easy thing to say, hey, if Nate Diaz, who has unbelievable cardio, can fight all night, like if he could stretch out Chimaev a little bit, like maybe there's something there, but I don't see it. And like Nate Diaz doesn't really have the power to threaten him. Like I don't think we're going to see his chin tested necessarily. Nate Diaz can accumulate strikes and just that's how he's kind of got knockouts in the past, of hit you a bunch of times with a bunch of jabs and kind of wear you down and finish you that way. But I don't see him being able to do that to Chimaev. I certainly don't see him finishing him in one punch. Could he test him on the ground? Maybe, but that's where Chimaev seems to be the best. So I mean, I don't know. Like, yes, if he got into a jiu-jitsu match, could he throw something up and find an armbar or find a choke of some sort? Yeah, possibly, but I don't think that's where you really want to test Chimaev either. I don't really know where his weaknesses are necessarily. He's just looks so good. And you're right. The Gilbert Burns, like what happened against Gilbert Burns? Gilbert Burns is one of the best fighters in the world. Like that's what happened. I don't know if Nate Diaz is quite on that level anymore. I don't really see where he challenges him. But stranger things have happened. It's a fight. It's not like he's 1,000,000,000 to 1. He's like 12 to 1. So yeah, there's that chance. There's something he can do. I just don't see the clear path to a victory. I think it's going to have to be a combination of a couple things going wrong for Chimaev and a couple things going really, really right for Nate Diaz. And I also don't know where Nate Diaz's heart is in this contest. I mean, I think the comments I believe are overblown, but he basically was like, you know what, I just stopped training. Go ahead and beat me. Like, I don't think that's true. That's not something that's in Diaz's blood. But who knows? And if you want to get into the other really, really fascinating part of this fight, I've had more people reach out to me from like more mainstream media and more betting media reach out to me and kind of ask me some questions about this than any other fight I've ever been around. What if Nate? I found the number, by the way. 192 to 2 was his strike ratio in those couple of fights. Just destroyed people.
Wow.
But people are really, really intrigued by the possibility that the entrances happen, the fighters step in the cage, Bruce Buffer announces them, the bell rings, and Nate Diaz taps. Just stands in the middle of the cage and taps out as a protest of fighter pay, as a protest of contractual situations, as a protest of just everything in general about the business practices of the UFC. I think it would be incredible. I think it would be one of the greatest stories I've ever seen. I don't think it happens. I would be stunned if it really happened. But I think the rumor has floated out enough that people are absolutely fascinated by what would be the fallout if that were to happen. First of all, what does Nate Diaz have to lose? His contract's up. He's already got all the money he wants. Go ahead and do that. And if you don't want to pay me for showing up, then challenge me in court. Like, that would be interesting. I don't know. There's so many intriguing possibilities about that. I would love for it to happen just from a story perspective. I just don't think it happens.
And it's funny because I was just looking right now, and Nate Diaz is like, I didn't call to fight him. I still don't want to fight him. Like, and then he's talking about how it's only his halftime show, that he still has a lot left in the tank. Like, it's just crazy about all the stuff that's coming out. And then I guess he came out with a list of the 4 opponents that UFC didn't allow him to fight and all this stuff. So it's just crazy all this stuff coming out about him.
Yeah, and by the way, I've not been around the UFC much this week because I'm obviously with the opener for the Raiders coming up, I'm very focused on what the Raiders are doing, so I haven't been around as much as I would like to. There's nothing I like better than sitting down. There's nothing I like better and nothing I'm more like weary of than sitting down with one of the Diaz brothers for interviews fight week. Really, anytime. I mean, you never know what they're going to say. You never know what they mean. I was talking to another reporter today that was reminiscing on his first time covering UFC event, which was probably almost 15 years ago. I think Nate Diaz was like 20, and it was a scrum interview, and it's one of those things where there's like 5 or 6 scrums going on. And so this reporter stepped out of the scrum. It was like his first ever event. He's a young kid. He doesn't know what's going on. He starts walking to a different scrum, and then Nate Diaz has said, where the F are you going? Get back here. I have things to say. And there was like 20 reporters. Like, they're all listening. Like, what are you doing? That's the kind of things that he does, and it's great. I flash back to one of the greatest interviews I've ever had because I still don't know what he's talking about, where Nick Diaz talked about living in a kind of a falling apart house in a bad neighborhood. But when he goes jogging, he's seeing all these nice houses and he's wondering how those people got there. And then somebody said, well, you have the money. You made $1 million tonight. You have the money to live in those neighborhoods. And he said, I don't know how to buy a house. Nobody ever taught me that. And I was like, well, I don't think that's something most people get taught. Like, you just do it. But it's part of what it told me, and what I've always kind of thought about them is they have always had this us against the world mentality of like everybody's against them. And they think when something happens, their instinct is to think, oh, this is something somebody's doing to us. And I think it's what's made them great fighters. I think it's what has not allowed them to necessarily find peace despite their success, but it's also what keeps them kind of driven and going. And I think it's an amazing thing to hear their thoughts. I'm fascinated by everything that they say all the time. So it kind of Nick more than Nate. Nate is, I think, a little bit more grounded, but you never know what he's going to say, and I love that aspect of him.
Also, Adam, I'm guessing you don't want to miss these scrum interviews or pressers because he might slap somebody. A Stockton slap. Have you ever seen one in person, or has he ever came close to slapping you?
No, never me. Not him. There's other fighters that have wanted to in the past. And definitely, of course, Dana. Everybody knows that publicly. But Brock Lesnar, I think, was the closest to getting me.
No way.
You gotta tell the
story. He definitely lunged at me. Like
okay, I need that story.
He wasn't going to hit me. Like, he knew not to do it, but he wanted to send me a message. Yeah, because it was one of it. He didn't fight very long in the UFC. His first time in the UFC, and I think it was his second or third fight where he showed up. I'm thinking it was about 3 hours late to a media day, and obviously that was because he was contractually obligated to do it, but he was just hoping everybody would leave, and nobody did. Everybody's waiting for him, and he kind of gets in there and. Like, his first answer is like, I don't want to be talking to you guys. And I was like, then why did you do it? Just pay the fine and don't come. Why are you here? And I legitimately wanted an answer to that. Like, I'm saying it in a kind of a snarky way because that's how I said it. But like, why? You can just pay the fine, dude. Like, nobody's going to force you to do this. Why are you here? I wanted to hear his answer. But instead, he just kind of, clenched his fist and just kind of gave me one of those, and I was like, "Oh man, that was great. That was great." But and I know it sounds like I didn't want an answer. I really did want an answer of like, what is the thought process of why do you actually show up? Like, nobody's, if you're going to pay a small fine, whatever it is, for the UFC to not show up at their media function, you can do that. You have millions and millions of dollars. Then don't do it.
That is a great story. Wow, Brock Lesnar against Adam Hill. That was a.
It would have been a short fight. It would have been like a Chimaev fight, 192 to 0 at the strike rate. I would have had nothing for him.
Is that one of your favorite UFC stories?
Man, I mean, probably that I can tell. I would have. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of things for sure.
No, I bet. Well, what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say there was a. Our newspaper will hit the newsstands. Obviously with the web, the stories go up quickly. But 10, 12 years ago when I was first kind of starting out, and the newspaper would hit the streets about 3, 4 in the morning. I did get a call from Dana at 3:30 in the morning, screaming and cursing at me, and I didn't know why. And then I saw what the headline was on a story, and I understood. But at the same time, I was like, "You're way too mad about this. You are way too angry about this." But yeah, we've had our ups and downs. I think publicly for sure. But I respect certainly what he has done, and he's actually been, I think, better than other sports commissioners and leagues to work with, because you can actually have access and ask him things. And hey, if they make a decision, you can ask him about it. Now, he's not necessarily going to tell the truth, and you're probably not going to like what he says most of the time. But how many other presidents or commissioners are that accessible? Like, I could text him right now and he would answer a question. Like, I couldn't do that in the NFL, even somewhat with the team officials, but with the league officials, no chance.
Last one, Adam, for us. One fight on this card in 279, an underrated fight that maybe we could see. Ferguson's fighting Lee. What's an underrated fight that you think is could pop off?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the ultimate, main event card. Like, the main event is really everything here. There's a couple of intriguing fights on there that I'll mention to you, but this is one of the ultimate, like, hey, this is all about the main event. It's all about Chimaev. Really, it's about one fighter. Like, this is the Khamzat Chimaev coming out party, celebration, whatever you want to call it, headlining a pay-per-view for the first time. It's a showcase for him. Like, that's clearly what this is. But yes, as you mentioned, anytime Tony Ferguson fights, it's going to be, fireworks. There's going to be some crazy things happening. That dude is wacky. So, I mean, that's always fun to see just what's going to happen. I would say if you're going to watch one other fight and you're just going to focus on, hey, what's going to be entertaining, Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez is going to be a really, really good fight. Holland is a guy, if you haven't seen him fight, will, just kind of stand there, throw punches, and just talk the whole time. He commentates his own fight. I wish they would put a microphone in the cage with him, because he just doesn't stop talking. He tells the guy what he's going to do. He does it. Then he says, oh, you should have ducked. You should have dodged there. Like, he's commentating the entire time. He's really, really entertaining, really fun. I'm sure if there's an interview with him on there, people will enjoy it. But he's always fun to watch. And Daniel Rodriguez is going to bring a fight to him. So I think that'll be intriguing from that perspective. And then I think Johnny Walker and Ian Cutelaba could just throw bombs at each other, and that's just kind of like, let's have a face punching contest and see who falls down. So that'll be fun too. But I think the Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez fight, besides the main event, is one that I think people should look forward to.
I keep on telling you, people, if you guys want all the info on everything Las Vegas, you go to @Adam Hill, LVRJ. That's the Twitter to go to. Adam has everything. I'm telling you guys, he has you covered on everything Las Vegas. Adam, I hope you have fun at UFC 279. We'll be looking for you, and then hopefully on Sunday, seeing you at the Chargers Raiders game. You're gonna appear just like magic, so it's gonna be awesome. You got a prediction for that game?
A lot of points. A lot of points.
A lot of points, Adam Hill. Yeah. I know. Adam, thank you so much for joining us, and that was another great interview. Thank you so much, Adam.
Anytime, guys. Good seeing you.